Communalism is a system of government put forward by Murray Bookchin, where you have virtually autonomous local communities loosely connected in this confederation, comparable to how the ancient Greek confederations functioned between different city-states that were all independent but would unite to combat a common enemy if there was a threat, but also they'd keep in diplomatic communications with each other. Bookchin specified, like the ancient Greeks, it should make decisions through popular assemblies and have delegations who handle administration issues. The hope is that moving from our current systems of democracy into this communalist system would change the constituent taxpayer into more of a full citizen of their community and encourage a greater participation in public spaces. It would effectively work as the beginnings of an easier point of change where government power is simply moved down into local authorities and local municipalities. By bringing the power down into these local municipalities, you would also be bringing down the size of the political communities, which is meant to produce a more manageable number of people to have in a singular communal atmosphere. And this would differ from how a lot of socialists would advocate for change going forward, where they're more looking for these very large-scale economic changes. Instead, communalism wants to move decision-making into more local hands, rather than having to make large-scale global system-level changes. And the general idea is that this is just a starting point, which might then start affecting bigger and larger economic issues by creating these local authorities, which can start as the bottom in a bottom-up change. And the reason Bookchin really puts this term forward is because he views it as being more fertile ground for a democratic means towards socialist goals, which anarchism was meant to represent. For Bookchin, anarchism now represents this hollow term for an individualistic, adolescent fad that's kind of become devoid of all of its actual historical meaning, as have many terms in recent years. More specifically, we can make a distinction between freedom and autonomy. Anarchism used to have a focus on freedom, which looked to end domination in wider social relations, while autonomy, which Bookchin believes anarchism represents now, only really cares about an unhindered individual, not so much about a change to structural societal relations. Ideally, we would go back to an anarchism that looks at an ever-evolving relationship between societal progression and individual progression, involving changing and developing freedoms, but also responsibilities and duties on the part of the individual and society. But another important point about communalism is the way that it deals with democracy. Now, Bookchin has a critique for how we currently deal with most democracy, which is representative democracy. He believes this representative democracy has kind of polluted our idea of a general democracy, Bookchin specifically referring to the Hellenic democracies of ancient Greece, which he admits were definitely problematic, but had some institutional models which he thought were very useful. Because at the moment with representative democracy, the average individual's actual political agency is mainly only ever expressed in a momentary election in which they hand off their political agency to someone else. Bookchin also believes these representative democracies kind of tend towards a consensus decision-making, which can end up making these weak, conformist decisions to try and fit in all these differing opinions into one singular policy, where Bookchin believes a democracy requires a vibrant space of dialectical disagreement, because minority opinion and consensus building can just as much be viewed as piecemeal settlements, pushing aside what the actual political agenda of that minority might be. While in a true democracy, the minority can lose the battle but still fight the war, not having been a part of this consensus building process. And arguably we have seen communalism take shape in at least one example in modern terms through Rojava in northeastern Syria, where the founding member of the Kurdistan Workers' Party was directly inspired by Bookchin's ideas on communalism and his general ideology, hoping to create a democratic confederalism within the Kurdistan political movement, bringing back something that looks kind of like ancient Greek democracy in northeastern Syria.